I suppose you're thinking, what on earth is a bloke who chases an odd-shaped ball around a rugby field talking to a bunch of bankers for? Well, I passionately believe that the characteristics of a winning team are similar. I mean, the difficulty level of playing against 13 men against New Zealand is probably the same as trying to understand a bloody equity yield curve. The adrenaline that's going through your veins when you're about to make your first FX trade and you can't remember whether Bobby Barnett on the Mark Yen said buy or sell is similar. And so these characteristics I feel are very pertinent to successful teams moving forward. So rugby players, we have other examples. We have Lawrence Delalio in an Italian restaurant ordering the Pagioni until he works out it's page 1. Or Mallow Kelly a couple of years ago, good Irishman. 19 million bloody sheep and I can't get a bacon sandwich. So there is a flip side to this rather. So the assumptions I was making, the variables that you guys have, obviously terrorism, war, all these things that you have to cater for, whereas in a rugby field we're trying to look after weather, referees, and injuries. So I'll try and lay those sort of assumptions to one side. But as I said, having been on 3 Lions tours, having gone from number 7 in the world to number 1 in the world, winning a World Cup and going 3.5 years not losing to a Southern Hemisphere side, I like to feel that the building blocks we put in place are pertinent, whatever business you're doing, whether Apple, Pixar, whatever it is, and that they were put in place and allowed us to get to this particular moment. So how did we get there? Simple messages that had huge meaning for everyone within Team England, as we used to call it. Leadership, trust, attitude, confidence, responsibility, and belief. Things we hung our coats on, things we bought into, this vision that Clive Woodward has given us. We had a war room, not too dissimilar to this in our hotel, where the PlayStation, your 3-card brag went on in other rooms. But in the war room, you spoke your mind. You said what had to be said, and there were no recriminations. It was not. We didn't live in an if-only culture. And then most importantly of all, we're trying to set up an environment of elitism. The absolute best at everything we do. You always believed, who do you want in your team if your life depended on it? Who do you want coaching the guys? And let me just give you a little bit of colour on the specialist coaches. Andy Robinson, Phil Larder, Dave Allred. Their jobs to deliver. What I mean by that, I mean from training, from jogging through to the full contact stuff, to implement the basics, the scrums, the line-outs. We call them 7 of them. There were restarts and etc. High performance behaviours. And if we nailed each particular basic down, we'd achieve world-class standards and then execute it on the match day stuff, both the physical and the mental preparation. If you put all those 3 things together, you found yourself not necessarily the ball going over, but you found yourself in that situation where everything had been put together, whereby you can achieve this. It was almost irrelevant whether it went over or not, but the building blocks that to get us there had all been part of it. And Woodward as this leader that was at the top of this, the tip of the iceberg in this leadership section, was someone who led and they managed. He inspired and they problem solved. He was into phrases. They were all around the changing room beyond number 1. How do you want to be remembered? Greatness is achieved through the discipline of attending to detail. All these phrases that he brought business to sport that he wanted us to try and buy into. And it was a wonderful environment, a sort of leadership-centered culture with him at the top. But that was off the field. Then, of course, there was on the field. And the leaders and managers on the field. And then there's the chap on the left in the middle of that huddle. An incredible man who simply didn't know the meaning of the word fear. There were about 8,000 other words as well. But fear in particular. He wasn't a man of Churchillian words. He had this ability to stand still and everyone crowds round him. A wonderful poker player in the sense of on a rugby field. And what do I mean by that? I remember 37 minutes gone in the game, Johnny Wilkinson went down, didn't he? And the whole world, well, certainly all English supporters went, oh my God, what are we going to do? And he got us round in a huddle. He said, don't look at him. We'll win this whether he plays or not. And I was going, utter bollocks. Johnny, get up. But all the rest of the forwards like, yeah, he's right, we'll do it. Yeah, let's keep playing.